A man was found dead on the beach. No wallet, no ID. No one knew his name, dot in his pocket. Just a small piece of paper with two haunting words. Tamam Shud. It is finished, but this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of one of the greatest mysteries in modern history. December 1st, 1948, on the quiet sands of Somerton Beach in Adelaide, Australia. A man was found dead. He lay on his back, resting against the seawall, his legs neatly crossed. At first glance, he looked like he was just asleep, but he wasn't breathing. He carried no wallet, no identification. His clothes were clean, formal, yet all the labels had been carefully removed. An autopsy revealed no signs of trauma, but his stomach was full of blood. Doctors suspected poisoning, a rare, untraceable kind. No toxins were ever found. Number: fingerprints matched. No one came forward. It was as if this man had erased himself from existence. No name, no past. Just questions, and the silence of the sea. 6 weeks later, investigators made a strange discovery. Hidden inside a tiny fob pocket of the man's trousers was a slip of paper. On it, two Persian words, Tamam Shud. Translation: it is finished. The phrase came from an ancient book of Persian poetry, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a text that spoke of fate, death, and the fleeting nature of life. Police searched for the original copy and found it, tossed into the backseat of a stranger's car, blocks from the beach. Inside the book were two handwritten phone numbers and a strange code no one has ever been able to solve. Was this a suicide note? A hitman signal? A warning, or something even darker? One of the handwritten phone numbers found in the book led to a quiet house near Somerton Beach. There lived a woman named Jo Thompson, a nurse, unmarried, living with her young son when police knocked on her door and asked if she recognized the man. She answered calmly, "No, I've never seen him before." It was a dead end. Until they showed her the plaster cast of the man's face, Jo didn't speak. She didn't scream. She just stared, eyes wide, body trembling, and nearly fainted. According to the man who made the cast, her reaction was unlike anything he'd ever seen. It wasn't fear. It wasn't shock. It was recognition, deep, undeniable, and personal. And then she said nothing more. Jo never admitted to knowing the man. She refused all further interviews. Decades later, her daughter Kate Thompson broke the silence. "My mother told me." She knew who the Somerton man was, but she said it was something I could never understand. And she would never, ever tell anyone. But Kate had noticed other strange things growing up. Jo could speak fluent Russian, yet had never studied it formally. She kept that skill hidden, even from family. Why would a nurse in post-war Australia speak perfect Russian? Why would she lie to the police unless the truth was dangerous? Speculation grew. Was Jo a Soviet spy operating quietly in Australia at the dawn of the Cold War? And if so, was the Somerton man her contact, her partner, her former lover? Or perhaps he knew something she had tried to forget, something worth lying about for the rest of her life. For over 70 years, no one could identify the man. Then, in 2021, Professor Derek Abbott, who had chased this mystery for decades, received permission to exhume the body. Working with renowned forensic genealogist Colleen Fitzpatrick, they extracted DNA from hair trapped in a death mask. They traced a family tree of over 4,000 people, and finally, they had a name. Carl Webb, born in 1905, an electrical engineer from Melbourne. He had disappeared in 1947 after his wife filed for divorce. No one reported him missing, no obituary, no funeral, just gone. For decades, the identity of the Somerton man remained sealed in silence. Newspapers faded, witnesses passed away, and time buried the case deeper, year by year. But in the 21st century, science began to speak where memory could not. Enter Professor Derek Abbott, an Australian scientist who had spent much of his career haunted by the man on the beach. He wasn't just curious, he was obsessed. And he was determined to uncover the truth in 2021. After years of campaigning, Abbott finally received permission to exhume the Somerton man's body. His goal: to pull the smallest clue DNA from what was left. It was a long shot. There was one chance: a few strands of hair preserved in a plastered death mask made decades earlier. No roots, no flesh, just hair. But it was enough. Abbott partnered with Colleen Fitzpatrick, one of the world's leading forensic genealogists. Together, they began building a family tree, not from memory, but from molecules. They traced a genetic fingerprint through more than 4,000 individuals, name after name. Branch after branch, and then the tree narrowed. And a single identity emerged. Carl Webb, born in 1905, an electrical engineer from Melbourne. The youngest of 6 siblings, a man who had once lived, and then simply vanished. No death certificate, no known grave. Just one note from the past. His wife had filed for divorce in 1947, saying he had disappeared. And now, 74 years later, he was found not in Melbourne, not in a cemetery, but alone, face up, on a cold Adelaide beach. The Somerton man finally had a name. But the mystery was far from over. Carl Webb. The name echoed through headlines and history. Books, like a long-lost answer, finally whispered aloud. But as soon as we had a name, more questions came rushing in. Why was Carl in Adelaide, 800 kilometers from his home in Melbourne? Why did he have a book with Joe Thompson's phone number written inside? How did he die by suicide or something more sinister? There was no record of him staying in any hotel. No friends. No family in town. No one remembered seeing him. It was as if Carl appeared in Adelaide just to die, then vanish from the world even stranger. Despite his body being shown in newspapers across the country, none of his family ever came forward. He had siblings, in-laws, nieces, and nephews. But no one claimed him. Why did Carl choose to disappear? Was he hiding from something or someone? And what about the unbreakable code found in his book? 7 lines of strange letters written by hand, some crossed out, some underlined. Even with modern computing power, no one has ever cracked its meaning. Was it a cipher, a final confession, or simply random letters from a collapsing mind? The truth may still lie buried, not in sand, but in silence. But the story didn't end at the grave, because while Professor Derek Abbott was solving a mystery, he was also writing an unexpected chapter of his own. During his research, Abbott contacted Rachel Egan, the granddaughter of Robin Thompson, Joe's son. He wanted to ask about DNA, about family history. But something else happened. They connected, they talked, and over time, he fell in love. Yes, the man who spent years chasing the truth about the Somerton man ended up marrying into the very family once thought to be his dot. Derek and Rachel are now husband and wife. They have 3 children. And through a mystery, they built something real, a family. So in a way, it's Carl Webb, the man who died nameless, faceless, and alone, is no longer lost to time. He has a name, he has a legacy. And perhaps in the most unexpected way, he found peace. Some mysteries are solved with science, others with love. The Somerton man is no longer a mystery without a name. But who he was, what he ran from, and why he died the way he did, those questions may never be answered. And maybe that's what keeps us coming back.